We have a special guest that I've asked to call in, Pastor Mike Chorey from Grand Island, New York. That's the Buffalo, Niagara Falls area. Dear friend, preached at Cross River Tabernacle many, many times. Wonderful church. If you live in that area, you need to go out and visit. But Mike just got back from a trip to Nicaragua, I believe it was, where he had a Bible distribution. And so we want to get an update. Mike, how are you today?
Oh, I'm doing good, Pastor Donnie. Great to be with you on the Bible-thon.
Well, tell me what happened.
Well, I'll tell you what. The people in Nicaragua are some of the sweetest, most hungry people I've ever met. And they came out in numbers that we have not seen on a missions trip. We ministered to over 9,000 Nicaraguans in 8 days.
Wow.
4 pastor conferences. Each of them completely sold out. Couldn't get any more people in the building. In fact, in Managua, we had to, unfortunately, turn away 200 that couldn't even get in. We had 2 overflow rooms plus the main sanctuary. But due to what the ministry there, all of you that have done, we were able to give 200 expositor study Bibles to the pastors who had come that couldn't get into the meeting. So we're very thankful for that. Overall, 2,800 expositor study Bibles went forth to the pastors and ministers there in 4 different cities in Nicaragua, and the last city was Managua, which was just a tremendous day there on the Saturday service.
What was the reaction of the people receiving the Bible?
The hunger for that Bible was so incredible. I mean, we gave them not only Expositor Study Bible, but also Dan Burritt's book, How to Live for God. It's been translated into Spanish, as you know. And
right.
They just lined up. I mean, we went right into the crowd. There were so many people, we couldn't even get them up to the altar. And our team went out and distributed them, and it was like we were giving them something that, like a starving person would be reaching out for food. And they were so appreciative, Pastor Donnie. I mean, they wanted you to know, and all the people back at the ministry, how much this means to them. I told them, we are giving you a Bible college in that study Bible from Genesis to Revelation. And the pastors were so appreciative. In fact, the pastors of the Association of Nicaragua, there's some 25,000 pastors. They presented us with 2 plaques that are going to be given to you personally on behalf of your father and the ministry of that crusade back in 1988.
Right.
One of the plaques, one of the gifts are from the government, and the other one is from the Pastors Association. But they were just wanted you to know that that country has been changed through the Jimmy Swaggart crusade in 1988. And those Bibles are just going to continue that move.
You know, we were there right when the war had ended, not long, and the Sandinistas had taken power, communist. We had requested the baseball stadium for the crusade, and they refused to give it to us. And instead, they said the only place that we could set up was what was called Revolutionary Square. Wow. And it was where we set up the stage, and it was right in the heart of town. Behind the stage, and we'll show some footage of it, they need to pull it up real quick, of a burned out Catholic church that was destroyed in the war. When you were standing on the stage looking out to the people, on the left was a burned out government building, and on the side, spray painted, was all this graffiti: death to Yankees, death to America, communist hammer and sickles, AK-47s painted on it, all of this. And they stuck us there for part of the reason was they didn't think that it was the baseball stadium had public transit. It was a major hub because they were baseball crazy in Nicaragua, and a lot of professional baseball players came out of Nicaragua in times past. And but thousands and thousands of people came It was one of the most moving. Yeah, there it is, right there. That's it, as far as as far as you could see. That's where it was. It was, and it goes further on the east side and as far back as you can see. And I don't know if we have any footage. They need to show that church. Look at people sitting in the trees right there. We had people coming. They in flatbed trucks with people just crammed in. It was unbelievable. The crusade. The current. There it is, right there. That's one building that was not destroyed. That's that Catholic church. I think the only other person they allowed to speak there was a former pope from Italy. And if that's the inside of the church, like I said, this had been destroyed during the war. That's the generators that we had to ship in because they just couldn't support the power. That's the pods that for the TV equipment. One was for director, one was for sound, one was for lighting, one was whatever the case may be. Look it up. That's people coming to the crusade right there. Just jammed in. It was just unbelievable. Daniel Ortega is the current president. He's a communist. Well, he was the president then. He had just taken power. He went out of power for several years, and now he's come back in. And these are people coming to the meetings. The telecast had just exploded in that country. It was just unreal. And we've distributed several thousands of Bibles. And the next country on we're on Nicaragua right now, and it's a different outreach. Matter of fact, this is the third or fourth outreach in the last year in Nicaragua, and all by different groups. And that's what's so good because each group has influence with different pastors that the other group doesn't have, And so, Mike, I'm so grateful that you were there. You saw firsthand the impact of this mission outreach. What would you say to the people that are watching and listening right now?
Well, we're experiencing right now in our lifetime what I believe is the last end-time harvest. And when we were there, we knew the favor that we had with these ministers and with the people was directly because of Jimmy Swaggart Ministries. The love that we felt from the people and the appreciation from the pastors. And Pastor Donnie, I stood in Revolution Square the last night. We went over there to visit it, and we were standing right where the platform would have been in 1988. And Elias Gomez, who is our translator, and him and his wife did an amazing job there. Elias took his phone out, and he put the crusade from 1988, where your father was preaching. It was so powerful. I took my phone out, and I started to film Elias holding the film with the backdrop of that Catholic church that's been now, closed down. And the lightning in the sky started lighting up. I have it on film when your father would talk about the harvest, that we must bring in the harvest before the judgment comes. The sky was like it was reacting to what your dad was preaching. And I'll send it to you. It's about 5 minutes. We showed it at our church yesterday. In fact, last night at our church, we showed the whole first night of that crusade in Managua. And people were crying watching that last night. And the Lord was so good while we were there that the pastors have now invited us to come back next year on September 26th. They celebrate the annual anniversary of the Bible being translated into Spanish. And they're expecting 50,000 people to come. 25,000 pastors are behind this. And they've asked us to come back to do a pastor's conference and to speak at that crusade. So God's just incredibly opening the doors, and it's all due to the ministry of your father and now what you're carrying on. And these Bibles are going to change Managua and wherever they went. 4 different cities, Granada, there was Leon, there was Masaya, Nicaragua, and then Managua. We did 4 conferences in 4 cities, and like I said, they were packed, every one of them.
So next September, you said they're having this conference?
Yes, it'll be Friday, September 25th, which they just added because of the conferences that we did. They said, we want you to come back. They're so hungry for the end times message. We were preaching the message of the cross and end times, and so they asked us to come back and give the evangelistic message in front of 50,000 people they're expecting on September 26th. But then after this conference in Managua, they said they would like us to do another pastors' conference for 2,000 pastors on Friday, September 25th. And, you know, they said, pray about it. I was like, I didn't even have to pray about it. I said yes. I didn't want them to change their mind. So
Well,
we're going, Lord willing.
Well, you know what? We want to... We need to give Bibles out there.
Amen.
We're going to do that. We're going to do that.
It's going to be amazing.
Mike, thank you so much for calling in and sharing. I hope the viewer can understand how important this is. And I'm looking forward, Mike, to receiving that video to see it. And but thank you for calling in. We're going to be playing this interview on every shift because not everybody, you know, people are watching at different times. But Mike, thank you for doing this. Thank you for sharing this, and we just need to keep it going. We need to keep it going.
Donnie, we're praying that everyone across America and the world will support this Bible-thon and get these Bibles to places like Nicaragua. The people are so hungry for the Word of God. And we love you. We're praying for you and praying for the ministry there.
Well, thank you, Mike. We appreciate that. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you've got to help us. You've got to help us. This is too important for apathy to rule the day. It's too important for the child of God to dismiss and not take part in this. There's a hunger out there that we don't see in America because we're not facing the persecution that they're facing. There's a lot of persecution in Nicaragua. And, you know, this is a communist country. It's a socialist country. Matter of fact, if you ever walked into my office, I have on the wall a picture of me and Daniel Ortega that was taken when we were there. And I have it on the wall not to honor him. He's a communist, but to look at as a reminder, just as a reminder of what people have to live under. Will you help us? We're on Nicaragua right now. We need a little less than 2,000 Bibles to finish Nicaragua, and then we will be on Uganda. But we need help for Uganda. We need help today for Kenya, for Zimbabwe. Will you help us? Will you go to that phone, or will you go online, sunlifetv.com, and do your best?